Hello and welcome to this webinar in Caring.com's Digital Marketing Academy. Today's session is focused on blogging, and we have a lot of tips, examples, and resources to share with you. I'm Denise Graab, a marketing director here at Caring.com, and I'm delighted to collaborate with Marissa Snook of corecubed Aging Care Marketing Agency to share some expert insights with you today. Just bear with me one moment while I get our, there we go. Before we dive into the presentation, let's quickly cover a few housekeeping items. This is a one-way webcast where only the presenters speak. You may ask questions, though, by typing and submitting them using the tool at the right side of your screen. We'll then answer those questions at the end of the session or afterward if we run out of time. No question will go unanswered, so please don't hesitate to ask. And if you think of something afterward, go ahead and email us, and we'll follow up that way as well. And then afterward, we're going to share with you the presentation materials early next week. Before we get started, I also want to tell you a little bit about today's host and sponsor, Caring.com, a company I'm proud to be a part of. We have more than 3 million visitors using our site senior care resources every month. These are families and older adults who are turning to us for caregiving information, referral, and support. They also come to us for reviews about home care agencies and senior living communities. In fact, we are the largest senior care reviews site with over 112,000 consumer reviews on our website today, and we add thousands every month. We also have thousands of original articles across all caregiving and elder care topics and host dozens of online support groups for family caregivers. And we're now owned by Bankrate and part of a powerful network of websites dedicated to supporting people in making complex financial decisions. For those of you not already familiar with me, I've been here at Caring.com for over 5 years now, and in total have 2 decades of professional communications and marketing experience. One of my favorite projects recently has been helping to improve our partner blog by significantly increasing content, site visits, subscribers, guest contributions in a relatively short amount of time. I've also been spearheading a redesign initiative of our blog, so have been deeply immersed in blogging and am excited to share what I know and what I've learned. Joining us is Marissa Snook. She's Managing Director of corecubed, as I mentioned. It's an aging care marketing company with a focus on home care, home health, and hospice. She's the program administrator of corecubed's MOST program, which is an award-winning turnkey marketing program she'll tell you more about at the end of this presentation. And she helps, among her responsibilities, she helps corecubed's clients with their blogging and blogs on behalf of corecubed as well. What we're going to cover today is why blog, some case studies, some specific case studies. We're going to help you in getting started. We're going to cover, once you've already started a blog, how to do it regularly and successfully. Then we're going to summarize what we've learned, share some resources to help you, and take your questions. Before we get started, though, let's find out how many of you are currently blogging. So let me just see if I can launch this poll real quick. Let's see. Okay, so please go ahead and answer. The poll should be presented to you now. Is your senior care organization currently blogging? Please select the ones that are most relevant to your situation and then click the submit button. Okay, we're just going to give it a couple minutes. Everybody can go ahead. I'm seeing answers still coming in. That's great. Wonderful. Okay, just a couple more seconds. All right, I'm going to close the poll now, and then we'll see the results. All right, share the results. Here we go. So it's a tie. Between don't have a blog or the corporate office is doing the blog. followed by your local staff is doing blogging, and then some of you have one but you aren't really using it yet, and a small percentage of you are hiring outsiders to do it. The good news is we have information in this session for everyone, regardless of what you answered with that quick poll. Just one second, I'm going to advance us back to our slides. Okay, here we go. Let's start by how specifically blogging can help your home care agency. We also this week invited senior living communities to join us. So we'll cover, these information we'll cover will also be helpful to those individuals as well. But first, let's start by understanding that today's consumer is online. This is according to research studies by Google, the Corporate Executive Board, Caring.com, and many others. The majority of consumers nowadays go online to research companies, brands, products, and services, and 67% of that research is complete before they ever reveal themselves to the company or brand. They're looking at consumer reviews, they're looking at company websites, they're looking at your social media profiles, they're looking at your blogs while researching their options. And even in cases where they're referred by a doctor or a hospital discharge planner or a geriatric care manager, we're finding that they are also going online to find more information about that home care agency or senior living community. So when they go to search engines, how do those search engines show your agency or your senior living community to those consumers? We have found that our research shows that only 15% of consumers search for senior care online using a senior living community's name or a home care agency's name, and only 40% have any local knowledge of providers in their area. So it's really important that you have a website and information that consumers will find when they go searching. So in addition to having your agency included in senior care directories that are already ranking well on search engines, you can use blogging to help your website get found by these consumers. And what search engines are looking for is content that's relevant, original, and fresh, so current, to the search words that the individual typed in. They're also looking, is that website, has it been around a while? And you're going to need some very specific code on your website and pages. So keywords, meta description, there's a lot of information on SEO to help you optimize your website so that the search engine can read it. I'm sorry, just one moment. Look, I just learned that you were still seeing the poll. Let's try to get you back into our deck. Here we go. Okay. So let me take you just right back real quick. Here you go. This is the information I presented just a moment ago, just to refresh. And now let's get back to search engines. So thanks for that individual who alerted me to that glitch. I appreciate that. Anyway, as I was saying, your website, your search engine needs to be able to read your website. There's certain code. We have information on our blog. There's SEO specialists you can turn to make sure that the pages of your website are optimized for search engines to find you and rank you. Another way that they analyze your site is how it's connected to other sites and how much authority you have on the topic being searched by the consumer. So that's called domain authority, and inbound, so sites linking to your site, and outbound, links from your site to other sites, tell Google who you're associated with and what your authority is. So you want to be careful about who you link to. You want to make sure that those are authoritative sites. They're well managed, and same thing with inbound links. You want to make sure that no questionable sites are linking to you. Okay, another thing that blogging can do is it can support your sales goals. So when a family caregiver or an older adult is looking for a home care agency, as I mentioned, they're going to go look at your website, they're going to look at your blog. You can demonstrate that you know what you're talking about. You are a home care expert, or you are a senior living expert by what you share in your blog. This will also help you differentiate from other home care agencies who aren't blogging, who haven't covered these topics. And done well, you can have items on your blog that help convert those readers into prospects, or for leads that caring.com has sent you or other sources have sent you, you could use your blog post to nurture those leads and convert them into customers. You can also use blogging to support customer service. So here's an example where we were hearing from some of our clients that when they were reaching out to families we had sent them, they weren't getting calls back, and that was very frustrating for them. So we decided to do a blog post with some tips on how to get around that challenge. We've since been using this in our client services team. So this is an example where blogging can support your customer service initiatives. You could also share news and announcements via your blog, and it's really helpful because it's one thing to send an email. Everyone gets lots of email every day. But when you have a blog post, people can refer back to that. They can go to your website. They can remember, oh, I remember reading about that topic from that home care agency. I'm going to go back to their website and read that again. They can search your website and find it. So it creates convenience and longevity for your customers. It's also a way that you can support your internal and external PR objectives. You can engage your staff and your customers in your blogging by featuring them on your blog. You can strengthen your industry relationships by having guest posts on your blog. And the blog can also be used. Here's an example of a highlight of memory care specialists at Synergy Home Care. They can use that blog in response to journalist inquiry to help the journalists get to know the agency, get to know the people behind the agency. And it's not just journalists, like as I mentioned earlier, prospects and customers want to get to know your agency as well. Okay, now I'm going to unmute our guest speaker and share the mouse and keyboard with her so that she can present her excellent information for us. Marissa, are you able to move forward?
Yes, I can see my mouse moving, so thank you very much, Denise. Denise has really brought out some great reasons for blogging, but I know some of you may still be on the fence. You know, I don't know if this is going to positively affect my bottom line. You know, how is this really going to affect my business? So I wanted to bring in a few statistics and studies that I think may get that final leg over that proverbial fence and into the blogging pasture, so to speak. So I was looking at Internet Live this morning, which is a very interesting website, and it is showing that currently 88.5% of the United States is utilizing the Internet. So in 2016, that translates to, according to this website, 286,942,362 people. And out of that number, from caring.com's research, we know that about 200 million of them are using smartphones. So think about that, 286 million plus on the internet and 200 million of those using smartphones. That's pretty amazing. And then the statistics from Reagan's News show that health information is the single most searched for topic on the web. And that includes caregiving information, information on care for seniors, for all sorts of healthcare decisions. That is the single most searched for topic on the web. And Pew Research shows that caregivers are more likely than non-caregivers to pursue support and advice online. So let's think about that. We've got over 286 million people in the U.S. using the internet, about 2 million of which are smartphone users. Many of them are searching for health information, most of them in fact, and then a fair percentage of those are family caregivers looking for support. They've got questions, they need answers, so let's think about that as we go to the next slide here. There we go. Micromoments. Let's talk about that for a little bit. If you're not familiar with micromoments, these are those quick glances that you take on a mobile device to act on a need. Maybe it's a need to learn something, do something, discover something, watch something, or buy something. So these are moments that are very intent-rich. They're often impulsive, and they're moments when decisions are made and preferences are shaped. So think about how you use your smartphone. You're looking for something quickly. You want to find it right now. You don't have much time. Your expectations to find that something are pretty high, and your patience is probably pretty low. So these 4 game-changing moments from Google are part of that micro-moment strategy. They're moments that really matter. They're moments of, I want to know. Let's see if my little wheel will spin. There it goes. And these I want to know moments are exploring times. They're researching. People are probably not in a purchase mode when they're in the I want to know micro moment. There's the I want to go moment, where people are looking for a local business. And as far as home care, that's probably not a micro moment that necessarily applies to you, but if you are in assisted living or some other aging care industry, that could apply to you, where they're looking for a local business. I want to do moments. This is a time when somebody wants help with a specific task. This can come up a lot for family caregivers who may just have a question on something that they're doing. Hey, maybe there's somebody else out there who's had a similar situation. And I want to buy moments, where people are ready to purchase, and maybe they need a little help with that purchasing process. So if you want to win over consumers in these micro moments, you've got to do more than just be there. Your information has got to meet their needs quickly, because, again, most likely they're on a mobile device. So you've got to meet those needs quickly with useful, relevant, and high-quality information. And blogs are a perfect avenue to do this, because ultimately, the brands that do the best job at addressing these consumer needs in these little micro moments, they're going to be the winners. So let's look at some statistics to back this up. People are more loyal to their need in the moment than to a brand. So the statistics are showing us 65% of smartphone users, when they're searching for something online, they're not searching for a brand. They're looking for the most relevant information. It doesn't matter what brand it is. And 51% of consumers ended up purchasing from a brand other than the one that they originally intended to purchase from, because they found the information on a different site that was the most useful to them. So what happens if they go to your site and they can't find the answers to their questions? You don't have blog information on your site that covers the questions that they have or the needs that they have. Well, 29% of those smartphone users are going to immediately go to another site to find the answers. They're impatient. They're not going to wait. And 40% of those that are having to go to that other site are unlikely to ever come back to your site because it didn't meet their needs. That is pretty amazing. It really puts forth the case that blogging can be a really important part of the consumer buying journey. So maybe when they come to your blog, they may not be in the purchase mode, maybe the first, second, or even third time that they're reading your blog, but it can still be a really important part of the reason for why they end up choosing your business when they're ready for purchase. Okay, so maybe by now, hopefully, I've convinced you, and Denise has convinced you, that blogging is important. But you may have the questions of, how do I know what to blog about? I think Denise gave you some really good information in the beginning. I'm going to give you some more information kind of backed up with some statistics from corecubed's clients. But before I do that, I wanted to make the case, when you're writing blogs, please don't just write content for content's sake. I think some people think, oh, I've got to get blogs up, so I'm just going to hire this person to write these blogs who doesn't know the industry. They don't know my target audience, but hey, they know how to write, so they're just going to throw some blogs up. That's really not going to get the sort of impact that you're looking for with your blog. So when you write content, make sure that it's relevant to your target audience. And to do that, you may have to be creative and think about what type of services that you sell the most. Think about the people who call your agency. What are the questions that they ask the most? Do you have a specialization service? Maybe you provide specialized Alzheimer's care, for example. What sorts of questions would those Alzheimer's caregivers have? That's what I mean when I say be creative, because that will come up with the best blog topics to reach your target audience. So what we're looking at in this case study are two corecubed clients who are blogging at strategic times. And let me explain that a little bit more. This part requires a little bit of research as to, what is a strategic time to blog. I like to use google.com/trends. If you've never checked it out, it's super easy to look at, and you can just type keywords in there and see how they trend over a period of time. And we know from researching on Google Trends that home care related search terms drop every November, December, and they peak again in January. So why does that happen? Well, because people are going home for the holidays, November and December. They're seeing their parents. Maybe they haven't seen them in some time, and they notice, hey, Mom, Dad's not doing so great, or, maybe it's time we need to get some care options for them. So then in January, they start researching online. Now, when you are going to try and capture this audience in January that's going online, think about what are the types of questions that this audience is going to ask. Probably, what are the warning signs that home care is needed or that care is needed? What are the care options? How do I know what's a good home care agency? Those are the topics you're going to blog about in January, and that's the strategy that we used for these two clients. So the orange is client A, and the green is client B, and you can see that in January, their blog page views using this strategy jumped up by 71% and 130%. That is huge. And their unique page views, that means that's new people coming to their site, up by 100% for the client A and 67% for client B. And although client B doesn't track their contact us form fill outs, the client A, look at that, 225%. That's how high those filled out forms on their website for service went up. So that strategy certainly worked well for those clients. Blogging on strategic topics. Some topics are going to be hotter than others, but the problem is, how do you find those topics? How are you going to know what's going to be a hot topic? Well, if you're savvy enough, you can dig into tools like Google AdWords keyword research tool. It can be a little bit confusing. So if you're not savvy, take a look at caring.com Sparks. Those have some great ideas for blogs, and I know Denise is going to talk about that a little bit more later. But those are updated every month and are some great topics to blog about. Or you can use a professional like corecubed who can do research specific to your aging care business in your location. So let's talk a little bit about this slide that we're looking at. These two clients found a hot topic around the idea that people don't understand the differences or all of the different options for care. So this client C blogged about alternatives to assisted living. It was just one blog, but boy, did that blog hit the mark. Over a particular period of time, that particular blog received over 95% of the blog traffic. This is pretty amazing and startling, considering that there were several other blogs that went up during that time period. So that one really hit the mark. This client, similarly, over a month or two, every one of their blogs focused on alternatives to nursing home care. And when they did that, their visitors, new visitors, went up 310%, and their site sessions went up 279.8% over the previous time period where they weren't covering that hot topic. So I think that demonstrates pretty clearly how blogging on a hot topic can affect your website and the people who are interacting with your agency. This last case study, I thought this was really important to point out because sometimes people think, well, what's the difference if I blog once a month versus 4 times a month? Well, it's pretty big. These two clients, in fact, one blogs 4 times a month and the other doesn't blog, and they don't add fresh content to the website. And they're very comparable sites. They're in comparable size cities and locations, so I thought this was a pretty even comparison to give you an idea of, you know, what happens when you blog. This client who blogs 4 times a month, over a particular period of time, they had 6,773 sessions on their website, and 2,388 of those were from organic search, meaning people had typed into a search engine something that ended up bringing them to this particular client site. And the client who doesn't blog at all, over that same time period, only 2,413 sessions, 777 of which found them through organic search. So I hope that brings to light a little bit how blogging can really make a difference for your website and your agency. And I'm going to turn it back over to you, Denise.
Thank you so much, Marissa, and congratulations to your clients who achieved those results. Let me just take control of the mouse again. There we go. Okay, so for others who want similar results for your senior care organization, let's dive into some practical details to help you. And we'll start on behalf of those who don't yet have a blog. We'll cover how to get started and some basics. Okay, so something that Caring.com has gone through with our own blog redesign is deciding which platform to use. And actually, we do blogging on all of these options. There's a lot of information out there that compares them, the pros and cons of each, and really it depends on your primary goals, what your budget is, what blog management resources you have, which is going to be the best option for you, and it could be a combination. I'm going to take you quickly through these and show you some samples, but anyone who wants to do a deeper dive, I'm happy to send you some of the comparison charts. I'm happy to share with you why we chose one over the other or how we're using one or the other. Just reach out to me afterward and I'll take you through that. In the meantime, I'm going to go quickly through so you understand what each of these are. The first is the most expensive and time-intensive option, and that is to build the blog from scratch on your own website. This is common for major publishers, but most of you are not going to be in a position to really do this effectively. Another option that's more likely that you'll consider is using existing blogging software like what's available from WordPress. In fact, there are more than 82 million active users of WordPress right now, and it's used by 48% of the top 100 blogs. So this is the most common option. But it can be intimidating, and you may need help from a WordPress consultant or a freelance web developer to get this type of blog started and maintained. You should also consider blogging on existing blog websites like Huffington Post, where there is already a built-in audience. You don't have to learn software or code, and in some cases, you can link back to your agency website. These types of blogs also get high visibility among journalists, so it's another reason to consider this type of blogging, either as a complement to the blogging on your site or instead of blogging on your site. You can still share these posts in your emails and newsletters and social media profiles and support your sales goals that way. It's just not going to have as much SEO benefit as the blogging on your own site would. Another popular option are the social social blogs or microblog platforms, as some people call them, like LinkedIn Publishing or Medium. Those two are another way to blog without having to build it on your site. They have a built-in audience, and they can be linked to your site and shared with your prospects and customers as well. But again, and it depends on the platform, but overall, there's less SEO benefit to your website when you do this approach. Regardless of the type of blog platform you choose, there are some best practices to keep in mind with design and usability. So number one, be consistent with your agency's branding. When an individual visits your website and then visits your blog, they should have a sense that it's the same company. And this is something that we are addressing, I mentioned, with our redesign project as well. You also want to help the reader navigate to content easily and quickly. Help them find what they're looking for so they don't bounce and go back to that search engine looking somewhere else for what they need. This includes your navigation headers, like it's called Mega Nav. This includes having a search bar. This includes having topic tags in areas of the site. That's really easy to understand where to go to find which information. You also want to reduce clutter, not have too much information in a small space. People's attention spans nowadays are seconds, so you have to get them what they need. They have to be able to look at the page, get the high points, and if they have time, they can dig in from there, but they could scan the page and get the key points and know if they want to have a deeper conversation with you or spend more time reading the blog. Images are also really, really important, both images and video, but be careful to use images that you have permission to use, and try to limit or radically reduce the amount of stock images you use. And when consumers are visiting many websites and they see the same older adult and caregiver photo on all of the sites, they'll know instantly that that's not a real person. It's always better if you can use real images with permission of those individuals featured. And in cases where you can't, try not to use the same images that everyone else is using. Another big basic that is a mistake that some blogs are still making is auto-loading music or animation. Remember, the family caregiver may be visiting your website or blog late at night. She may be doing it at work. And that auto-loading music and animation is going to cause her to instantly bounce from your blog. So avoid it. You also want to be mobile friendly. Marissa covered the use of smartphones by this audience and by America in general. And Google, the search engines, are also preferencing pages that are mobile friendly. So take a look at your blog on your smartphone and make sure that page is readable and useful to the consumer on their smartphone or on their desktop. Okay, now that we've talked about the platforms and the basics, let's dive into some ways you can continually generate fresh content for your blog, keep those prospects and customers engaged, and build subscribers and blog visits and some of the other results that Marissa covered. When you create a content, what I call a content pipeline, you need to apply some editorial best practices. You want to aim for being hyper-local and really useful to the readers in your area. For instance, some people make the mistake of thinking that they're going to rank on search engines for a term like signs of Alzheimer's. If you go to a search engine and you do that search, you're going to find that those page 1 results are dominated by major publishers that are well-established experts on the topic. Alzheimer's Association, WebMD, Caring.com. These are types of organizations are going to rank well, and it's going to be very, very difficult for you to rank on those terms. However, if you do a similar search for Alzheimer's in San Diego, for example, you're going to see there's room for local players in that type of search. And actually the consumer who's in San Diego may be more interested in those local entities anyway. So Make any story you cover, whether it's a general topic like Alzheimer's, make it local. Bring it home. How is it relevant to people in your area? Tell stories. Stories are really important. They're engaging. I want to hear about people like me. And we've covered this in our social media programming, and I'm sure you've heard it from others as well. Storytelling is an excellent way to engage the prospect and customer. And images and video, we've discussed, are equally important, particularly in the era of social media where people are scanning images and then looking at words secondarily. To support you, remember we talked about you want to have frequent new content, and to support that you can create an editorial calendar. Even if you're only looking a few weeks ahead, it's still planning, which helps hone your strategy and your success measurement. So you define, okay, we're going to blog 1 to 2 times a month. Here's the topics we're going to cover in our first 6 months, and then see how you're doing against those goals that you've set. There's also some templates out there for blog posts that you can use. And another way to fill your content pipeline is to involve others. And what I mean by that is get guest posts. Get guest posts from others who have credibility, such as geriatric care managers, financial planners, etc., who are going to add value for people visiting your blog or website. They're going to have information that's really helpful to those individuals and helps you keep content on your site regularly. Another tip that I recommend and that others recommend is that you avoid the words click here and instead use the keywords. So use the blog post to link and lead the reader to other information. That not only leads the reader to the information, it sends a signal to the search engine that there is information on your website around those keywords. So back to our SEO goals initially. What to write about. This is a common challenge we hear from home care agencies and senior living communities alike. I understand it's a great idea to blog, I see these results, but what am I going to write about? Well, there are start with topics for hiring a home care agency or why moving to a senior living community. Start there. And what we're seeing is popular in that area is how to pay for care. In terms of a home care agency, the dangers of hiring under the table versus a bonded agency. Or for family caregivers, targeting content to them, the benefits of getting respite. Each of those 3 topics we've seen to be really popular with family caregivers and are relevant to hiring a home care agency. You may have commentary on local news. We've talked about staff profiles, client stories. Use holidays and observances as an opportunity to talk about senior care. You could do Q&A with experts. Those are really easy. Create a list of questions, email it to your expert, and they can answer via email, or you could do a quick phone call where you type up their answers and you get that blog post published. Reviews, consumer reviews are another way to create blog posts. When someone gives you a 5-star review on caring.com, take a snippet of that review, write about that you got the review and how that demonstrates your service goals and how it's not an exception to the rule. It's part of how you operate, and it just gives you an entryway into something to talk about and demonstrate that there are people like them who love your agency. How-to posts, list-based posts, these are other examples of topics to write about, and I'm going to cover, every month we have topics that we share, and I'll cover that later. The organization HubSpot is a pro at blogging and inbound marketing in general, and they recently published a formula or checklist you can use to create a blog post once you've identified a topic. And they also have templates on their site that you can follow that help make the creation of the blog post faster and easier. And I can share a link to that information via email afterward. And I'm going to give you a high-level overview of this formula now. So you start with an understanding of your audience and tailoring the topic to that audience. Are you speaking to the family caregiver? Are you speaking to the older adult? Are you speaking to both and the public? Understand that when you write that post and write according to who you're speaking to. You start with a topic and a working title. Then you create an outline, and you want to make sure you have your post organized in the outline so that it'll be easy to fill in. And remember what I talked about scannability. That outline is going to give you some headers, some subheaders inside the post that the reader can scan and get a sense of what that blog post is about and what the key points are without having to read all of the words at that given moment. What's really super important to get them to read the whole blog post is an intro. So you want to make sure you spend a little time writing a captivating intro that pulls the reader in. Then you want to go back to your outline and flesh it out, fill in the draft, put some links on relevant text. We talked about that earlier. Have someone help you proofread and then edit accordingly and format that blog post so that it's clean, easy to read, doesn't have a bunch of typos, and is conveying what you need to convey. Always include a call to action, and a call to action is something that you want the reader to do after they've read that blog post. So get more information, contact our team to learn more. These are examples of call to action. We're almost done with our blog post at this point, but we need to do a couple more things. We need to take a look at that working title and make sure that it's accurate. Now that you've written the whole post, you have a better sense of that. Is it clear? Will the reader understand what that blog post is about by looking at that headline? But is it also catchy? Are they going to click on that from social media or from the search engine? Does it catch their attention and pull them in? And is it SEO friendly? Does it have some of the words that they're going to be searching for so that the search engine will possibly show that post in the results? And speaking of search results, you want to make sure that that blog post has a what's called H1 headline, a meta description, which is a short summary of the article, and a few other things. And most blog software helps you with that, but if you're doing it on your own, you're going to need your web developer to teach you how to optimize that post for search. Okay, now, don't forget some of those goals we talked about early on. You can't just post and wait for the masses to arrive. For every post that you create, you're going to need to actively promote it. Put it on your social profiles, share it in your customer newsletter, get it out to anyone that you've referenced in there. So if it was an interview with a geriatric care manager, make sure they got a copy of it as soon as it's published. This helps, and they're going to promote it to their contacts as well. So you have to make sure that the blog post starts getting shared. That creates what's called a social signal to the search engines. Another thing I recommend is that you make it easy and really desirable for anyone who visits your blog to want to subscribe to that blog. That means that anytime you post, they're going to get an email telling them there's a new post. And that will bring them back. And that's particularly important if they were a prospect and you're trying to nurture them to become a customer. I also recommend that you have comments as a feature on your blog because comments create fresh content. So let's say you publish a blog 6 months ago, but that could still be found by people in search engines who are compelled to write a comment. That will be fresh content on that page. But be careful to remove spam, and if someone takes the time to comment, make sure that you respond to them. It's particularly if they ask a question. It shows that you really care and that you are engaged in delivering service. The other thing I recommend that you do is monitor the engagement stats. How many people are visiting your blog? Which posts are they reading? Some software will show you time of day that's better for you to post. That helps you hone your strategies. Marissa talked about it a little bit, blogging at strategic times. The engagement stats can help you figure that out as well. And always, always, always include your contact info so that that person who reads that blog can contact you to get more information. Okay, so if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed at this point, we've covered a lot of information, a lot of tips. I'm hoping this next section will bring you some relief. We're going to share some specific resources you can turn to for help with blogging and summarize the key points of our discussion. Marissa mentioned Google Trends. There's also organizations out there who are entirely focused on blogging and inbound marketing, like HubSpot, Copyblogger, Content Marketing Institute. These organizations, you can subscribe to their blog and get the latest posts to stay fresh on the latest trends in blogging. We also talked about the importance of images. CreativeCommons.org has images available. You just have to give proper attributions and they'll share that with you. And you don't have to pay a dime to use those images. PhotoPin is another one. I'm going to dive deep on corecubed's MOST program and our Content Made Simple program because both of those are also available. I'm going to also have a blog post that covers these resources and why I recommend them in more detail, as well as direct you to others that we've covered in this session. Okay, now for this, I'm going to unmute Marissa. She's going to give us just a couple minutes to explain the MOST program. Marissa?
Thanks, Denise. corecubed offers a wonderful, robust online marketing library. It's called the MOST program, and it's a membership program. And you can, in that membership program, order pretty much any sort of marketing material or marketing services, blogging included, and we'll do all the work for you. A lot of it is pre-created, so it comes together really quickly. Blogs are posted on your site for you, etc. It's a wonderful program. Everything is branded, white labeled, so it looks like it's being created by your agency. However, it is a membership program that's only available to a limited number of agencies per territory because it is a very special program. So if it's not available in your territory, we also offer custom services, including SEO and custom blog writing. So corecubed is a full-service marketing agency for home care, home health, and hospice agencies.
Thanks, Marissa. I'm going to leave you off mute because we're going to get into questions pretty soon.
All right.
Okay, so another program or resource you can take advantage of is brand new this year. It's free of charge. It's called Content Made Simple, and it is a support program for content marketing. It includes a variety of services, some of which are only available to Caring.com clients. So contact your directory specialist or me after this, or email community@Caring.com. We'll help you get set up. But it does include access to content, access to ideas, promotional support, and visibility for experts. We talked about, Marissa mentioned our Content Sparks. This is available free of charge to any senior care blog on the web. And what we do every month is we identify 3 relevant themes, and we create a kit for you to create original content. And we give you tips on how you can make the theme into a hyper-local story. We give you authoritative resources that are safe to link to from your post. So we do all of that legwork that we talked about here for you. So all you have to do is take those tips and turn it into an original post for your blog. So we've saved you a lot of time. We've compiled a lot of great information and resources for you. And I hope you will take advantage of this. If you subscribe to our blog, you'll get instant alerts. We also share the topics in our monthly newsletter. Okay, so let's talk about some key takeaways that we've covered here. You can use blogging to get found by senior care searchers, prospects in the market, as well as to build relationships with your customers and industry contacts. You can also use content marketing best practices to develop how effective your blog is so that you can achieve some of those results that Marissa covered that corecubed's clients are achieving from blogging. Always remember your SEO sales and service goals in whichever blog platform you choose and whichever blog posts you write. Make sure that you match your content according to those goals and that you monitor your engagement metrics and stay on target. And you're not alone. You can take advantage of the expert resources that are out there, and I hope that you will. Okay, now we'll take your questions. So let me see what has come through, and we will get right to those. If you haven't already asked, it's not too late. Okay, let's see. All right, so a question for Marissa. Can you share what some of your clients are choosing for their schedule for blogging? So how often are they blogging per month?
Most clients are blogging once a week. That's a manageable amount, and we found that it's also a good amount to keep the juices flowing, so to speak, on the website.
Okay, great. And we got another question for you of what you would recommend as the best word count for a blog.
Well, tradition has said at least 300, and lately I've been reading information that says longer blogs are better. So I would aim for at least 300, but if you do longer blogs, like Denise mentioned earlier, make sure it's very well organized so it's not it's easy to scan with your eyes.
Okay, great. Okay, good. And we are almost out of time, and I'm not seeing, does anyone have any more questions? Now would be the time. Nope. Oh, here we go, here we go. Is posting a blog post once a day too much for social media? I'd like to answer this, Marissa, if you don't mind, maybe you could add on. I don't think that blogging once a day is too much for social media at all. In fact, I recommend that you update your Facebook page at least once a day. It's really, really hard to get into the feed for those who have opted into your page. So in order to stay current and relevant, posting to your Facebook once a day helps with that. And using blog posts, if they're adding valuable information and helpful and aren't just promotional, it is not too much to do it once a day. Would you agree or disagree, Marissa?
I would agree, and I also read that people are looking more at social media now than they are at their email. So that's important to keep in mind.
Okay, great. We got an excellent question that I would like to answer based on my online community management experience, and it is, if you get a negative comment on your blog, how to best handle it. This can happen. What I recommend is that you thank the person for sharing their feedback and you invite a conversation offline. So you invite them to email you, or you invite them to contact your customer service help desk, or you give them your phone number so that you can have a more in-depth conversation, better understand their perspective, and share resources. Now, if there's something that they say in that negative comment that you have another blog post on that answers it, like, hey, you didn't cover X and I really wanted to know about this, take the opportunity to direct them over to that other content. But do not avoid getting into a debate or a tit for tat with a blog commenter. It'll distract, it may discourage others from commenting, and it's not helpful to your business goals either. Did you have anything to add to that, Marissa?
No, that was excellent information.
Okay, great. All right. Well, the other thing that we had a question for you, Marissa, is how does blogging affect search engine ranking?
It gives fresh content for Google and the other search engines to come through and look for information about what your website is about. The more often you're adding fresh content to the site, the more often those search engines are going to go through your site, which means that you have a higher chance of ranking on search terms more favorably, more on the first page, towards the first page.
Great. Okay, so we're almost at, we just have a couple more announcements to make. Thank you for everyone that asked a question, and if we didn't get to yours, I somehow missed it, or you think of one later, please don't hesitate to reach out to us after the session. I want to make sure that you understand what we covered and that you get your questions answered. Okay, but before we go, I want to let you know about the next session in our Digital Marketing Academy. We're going to be covering measuring ROI for internet leads. So we're going to cover some quick and easy ways to measure and maximize your return on investment, ROI, from internet leads and referrals. look for an email that'll have an invite to that session, or you can immediately go to our partner blog, and you can go to the events tab, and there will be a registration link there, and you'll get a link to the partner blog in the follow-up emails from this session as well. So I want to thank everyone very much for attending our session today. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you taking time to participate. I hope you found the information helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback. Here's how to reach the caring.com team, and Marissa had shared her contact information on a couple earlier slides. If you missed it, I can share that with you as well. You're soon going to be prompted with a survey to tell us how we did. Thank you again, Marissa, for sharing your insights. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and goodbye for now.